It's the Michael Patrick Leahy Show, broadcasting live from downtown Nashville. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
It's 11:05 a.m. We are indeed broadcasting live from our studios in downtown Nashville. We welcome to our microphones the official guest host of the Michael Patrick Leahy Show, our very good friend, the executive director of the Tennessee Faith and Freedom Coalition, Aaron Gulbranson. Welcome, Aaron.
You know, every time I come, and thank you for that, every time I come on, I feel and sense in the air around the state of Tennessee a collective, it's 50-50, weeping and gnashing of teeth or cheers. So people will always anticipate.
It's not 50-50. I mean, it's like, you know,
it's like 90-10. But
it's 90-10. It's 90-10. We are winning. I'm going to get to your week last week in Washington, D.C. As part of, well, the Tennessee, and you were part of the Tennessee delegation, because it's not a delegation, but the Tennessee team up in Washington, D.C. for the Supreme Court argument. I thought the Tennessee team performed extraordinarily well. But we'll get to that, what that was like. There are two pieces of news that I just have to talk to you about. and with apologies to our listener viewers, we have a few listeners and viewers. When we talk about sports, they get a little bit irritable because they're really into politics. But of course, you know, sports politics kind of crosses over. There are two appointments. One is political. I'll just mention it. We won't talk about it in this segment.
Okay. But
the second appointment, somebody's got a new job. I want to talk about that. So the first one that we'll talk about in our next segment is Kari Lake, our friend, who lost her Senate race in her gubernatorial race in 2022 in Arizona, narrowly, and then lost her Senate race by about 2% in Arizona in 2024, has been named to be the new director of the Voice of America. And she's got 25 years of broadcast experience. Probably a good fit. So we'll talk about that in a bit. But put your sports hat on.
Okay.
This one, I'm going to mix sports metaphors. Kind of a curveball. Bill Belichick, who is 72 years old and was a coach of the New England Patriots for how long? From 2020, 2000, for like 23, 24 years?
6 Super Bowl wins, right?
Yeah, 6 Super Bowl wins. I think he started in 2000. 72 years old. His contract wasn't renewed at New England last year. And so that happened about a year ago in January of last year. And he's been out of coaching ever since. He's been doing a lot of, other things. He's won 6 Super Bowls. Of course, when Tom Brady left, he didn't win any more Super Bowls. And Tom won one down in his 3 years in Tampa as a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. But the Patriots this year are beyond awful without him. They're 3-10.
Oh gosh, I haven't even paid attention to what their record is, but I knew it was so bad. So I mean, yeah,
it's pretty bad. I mean, the worst teams right now in the NFL: New England, New York Giants, New York Jets, Tennessee Titans, Jacksonville Jaguars.
In the next tier, my Dallas Cowboys, terrible too.
I think the Carolina Panthers are better than the New England Patriots because their quarterback, Bryce Young, has revived. And again, we're talking sports here, but we're going to get back to politics a little bit here. So Bill Belichick's been out of coaching. He's been rumored to be the next head coach, and he's about like 17 wins away from the all-time record for NFL wins. You would think he's a historian of the game. That would be what he'd want. You would think he would maybe be a coach for the New York Giants. Might be a coach for the Dallas Cowboys. But whoa.
Jerry Jones had a brain in his head.
He would have hired him last year, but okay. But now he's going back to college. He was just announced that he's got the trustees have to approve it at the University of North Carolina. He's going to coach the University of North Carolina football team. They're in the ACC. They're the top program. North Carolina's a basketball school, right?
Yeah, but the reason for this is, of course, the NIL program has completely changed things. It has turned the NCAA into another pro league.
In essence, you're right about that. This is why This is why Nick Saban retired, I think. He didn't want to deal with the NI. Name, image, and likeness means the really good college players can get paid to go to college. And the payments are, like over $1 million a year for the top ones. I mean, I think some make $2, $3, $4 million a year, the very best ones. And even an average kid will make $100,000. Which, look, I'm all in favor of that, by the way, in terms of the Supreme Court ruled on it. And so that's a very interesting point that you make. But he's going to go, apparently he's got a 5-year deal to coach at North Carolina, which has been a mediocre program. Mac Brown, 73, was fired because he was 6-6 down there. But so he's going to get like $10 million a year for 5 years. I have a theory about it.
Not a bad retirement program.
Yeah, but I think. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think a few things. The NIL program means the money is pretty much like the NFL. It's always been that way. Well, at least the last decade for coaches specifically that are quite good. They get these big contracts. Belichick probably gets them by the time that 5 years are over, 2 ACC championships and maybe one appearance in the college football playoffs. Because one thing I think is going to happen here is you're going to have donors to UNC. Boom. Just go nuts. And you'll see, I mean, heck, Belichick has his own Rolodex, but you'll see boosters from UNC that probably spend most of their time on basketball all of a sudden switching to football. So it's interesting. The ACC, of course, for the people who are getting bored of this conversation, is nowhere near as competitive as the SEC, the Southeastern
by the way,
Conference.
Let's just say for a minute, because I've lived in Tennessee now. I went to an Ivy League school where they play something. They call it football, but it's not football.
I thought they were more known as a crew school.
Yeah, but anyways, there's nothing like Southeastern Conference football. Nothing. It is fantastic. It is great. Every school is great. Asterisk. On occasional seasons, some schools aren't, but they're all top notch, and the fans are great. The college towns are great. The stadiums are great. The spirit. It's just it's orders of magnitude better, I think. But ACC still, a good program. But he said, and this makes some sense because he's a student of the game. What he said is, look, I'm going to treat this as a feeding ground for the NFL. In other words, if you want to play in the NFL and you've got the ability, you can come here to North Carolina and we're going to get you ready for the NFL. I think that's a good selling point. And I think he'd be uniquely qualified to do that. I mean, college football programs are like basically NFL teams now.
Yep. Probably a couple NFL teams that would lose to, say, Texas or Georgia. So,
Yeah, I have another snide thought about this. I'll share it with you. One of the reasons why he's going, he's 72. His girlfriend is 24.
Right.
Right.
She a UNC fan already? I mean,
I think one of the reasons he went there is so she could have somebody about her age to hang out with. Right? That's mean.
Wow.
But I like Belichick. I think he's a student of the game. I think it'll be interesting. I think it is. He's a very thoughtful guy. He loves football. He loves teaching football. I think also his son, who's a defensive coordinator at Washington, part of the deal is if he leaves the job, his son gets the job.
So he's setting up his kid.
He set up his son. I think it's all great.
See, that's the way to do it. Joe Biden should have gone and coached a college team and then brought Hunter with him instead of having to part him. That's how you bring your kids up instead of letting them do crack cocaine and illegal activity.
By the way, have you seen that the market value of Hunter Biden's art has gone from like $500,000 to like 5 cents?
Oh, there you go.
Well, we'll get back to politics, I promise, in our next segment. He's Aaron Gulbranson. I'm Michael Patrick Leahy.
folks, John Fredericks here for Freedom Alliance. Veterans are still struggling with the wounds of war. They came home with injuries that changed them forever. The flag-burning troublemakers in our streets remind me how fortunate we are to have patriots who served and fought, sacrificed, and never complained. We need to support them through organizations like the Freedom Alliance. It's Military Appreciation Month and time to support those who serve. Freedom Alliance is caring for combat veterans and military families. Combat veterans fought in the worst, most dangerous places on earth. Freedom Alliance takes them to nature's most relaxing locations so they can heal. Freedom Alliance gives injured troops mortgage-free homes, new cars, and all-terrain wheelchairs. For wounded vets, there's nothing like the stability of your own home, the reinsurance of a reliable vehicle, or the independence of a wheelchair that navigates snow, ice, beach, pasture, or most any terrain. Let's fight for those who fought for us. Go to freedomalliance.org/Godzilla and make a monthly gift that will improve the life of a military hero. That's freedomalliance.org/Godzilla. Make a contribution today.
If you're like me, most moms find it difficult to prioritize self-care. Hi, it's Colleen, Program Director at the John Fredericks Media Network. With the demands of programming 13 radio stations, it's easy to forget about the things I should do for myself daily. And that's why I started with our company's Women's Challenge with Native Path Collagen Peptides. It's affordable and convenient care in just one scoop a day. There are so many incredible health benefits like bone and joint support, metabolism booster, and hair, skin, and nail improvement. I like to take a moment each day to prioritize myself and indulge in the health-boosting benefits of Native Path Collagen Peptides. I love mixing it up with all the different smoothie recipes, too. Learn more about Native Path Collagen Peptides and read 7 important reasons why you should be taking collagen peptides at getnativepath.com/Godzilla. Prioritize your self-care with Native Path Collagen Peptides. Try it risk-free for as low as $21 today and get free shipping at getnativepath.com/Godzilla.
Target.com. Target.com is an online e-commerce tire retailer. We are here to serve the American public with the best possible customer service, the best pricing, and we make it extremely easy. We have many name brands and a lot of low-cost tires. The price is right, and it's easy. You go online to Target.com, TIREGET.com, Target.com. You go there, you put your zip code in, all the inventory displays right in front of you. You can call in for help if you want to. We'll help you get the tire that you need. But we will take the tires you buy and at no extra charge deliver them to the dealer right by your house where they will be installed at the market price. It's easy. The best price, the best service. Great people to deal with. Thank you for going to Target.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
Welcome back. In this segment, we're going to talk with our official guest host, All-Star panelist, Aaron Goldbertson, about your time last week in Washington, D.C. Tell us why you went up there, and tell us what happened.
I went up there because I have a mental illness. No, just kidding. By the way, before I get into the productive part of the story, I mean, I seriously, I ran campaigns for a zillion years. I used to take clients up to D.C. At one point, if there was zero traffic, I lived an hour and 15 minutes away. By the way, there's never zero traffic.
Oh, it's the traffic is awful.
I don't like going to D.C., so it was a very important reason that brought me there. So our great Attorney General, Jonathan Skrmetti, and his team were defending what is the first law that the Tennessee Faith and Freedom Coalition and I supported by Senate Majority Leader Jack Johnson and House Majority Leader William Lamberth, the anti-child mutilation law. And I want to. So we went up there for that because the case was heard before the U.S. Supreme Court a week ago yesterday. And there was a rally held, and I got to go to a few luncheons hosted by Alliance Defending Freedom, our friends over there. One of their attorneys, Matt Sharp, had been in the courtroom as well. So Majority Leaders Johnson, Lamberth, members of Skrmetti's team, our Solicitor General, were all in the courtroom, some of which obviously we're just observing. So we got to go there for that. Which, by the way, if you are looking for a place to smoke a cigar in D.C., you either go to Shelley's Back Room, which is where a lot of Republican White House staffers go. It seems to dry up when there's Democrats in office.
So if you are like a cigar, aficionado. Didn't you have a business doing cigar stuff?
I had a cigar company that I founded along with pro wrestlers Cody Rhodes, who is the current undisputed champion of WWE, and a guy by the name of Frankie Kazarian, who works for TNA Wrestling.
So let me just say this. If you're going to start a cigar company, you got to have a co-founder with the name of Frankie Kazarian.
Yep.
That's hey Frankie.
Yeah, or Kaz. I won't blow kayfabe here and tell the world what his real last name is, but his real first name is Frankie. But anyway, so yes, I did have I did sell my share of that, and that company still exists today, American Rebel Cigars. So, well, I sipped my coffee there, but we went to DC. We were there for 2.5 days, and it was.
Where did you stay?
I stayed in the strangest hotel I've ever stayed in my life. It was called the Yotel.
The Yotel?
Because all of the people that went, not all of them, but all of the dignitaries that went stayed right next door at the DC Hilton. And shall we say, when I looked at the price of the DC Hilton, I said, I'm going to stay close, but not... The
DC Hilton's what, $500 a night?
And there was some conference in town, so by the time I actually booked all my stuff, it was way up there. But it was kind of amusing, because I walk in there and I go, oh, so we're here, because some of the decor is, shall we say, very liberal. And it's like, oh, we're here for this very great conservative child-saving law that we helped pass, and we're in the
you're in the wrong place.
We're in the Kami Pinko Hotel, I see. Huh.
But it was less expensive.
Yes,
when it comes down to it, save the money.
So.
Okay, so you stayed at the Kami Pinko Hotel. That was cheaper.
Yeah, I was getting texts from a few of the others.
So you know what you need next time you go up, you need to bring your video camera and do one of these walking, talking things.
Yeah.
Because I think our listeners would and viewers would like to see all that. Yeah.
You want me to do a Nancy Mace maybe to shameless self promotion? By the way, as an aside, yes, her issues that she's talking about are great right now. If you also look at her Twitter feed 2 years ago, she's completely reversed herself, and I'm a little tired of seeing her face pop up on my Twitter feed or my X feed, every 30 seconds. Because anyway.
So you're there, you fly in, and the events are you go to your cigar smoking place once or twice there?
Probably twice. Yeah, twice.
But then would the actual Tennessee team there, did you go inside? Were you able to make it inside?
No, that was very, very, very
hard to get
locked down.
Hard to get a ticket. Right.
So on the Wednesday, this is how the day went. Jack Johnson and William Lambert spoke at like 8 a.m. and it was like 25 degrees out.
It was outside the Supreme Court.
Right outside the Supreme Court.
Yeah, I've been there. And by the way, you think, Washington, D.C., it's cold.
Yeah. It
was cold that day, too.
I told everyone a few days before an event, I was like, bring your long johns. I did. I did not go at 8 in the morning because I wanted it to warm up just a tad bit. So there was a room... there was kind of a hospitality suite at the hotel next door where a bunch of us, because also the ALEC conference was in town as well.
Tell people what ALEC is.
The American Legislative Exchange Council, right? That I haven't had to say that in a long time.
Conservative, Republican state legislators, essentially from every state.
Yeah, and I think our friend Chris Todd is the state representative. Chris Todd is the state chair for ALEC, if I remember right.
Chris Todd, state rep from the Jackson area.
Yeah. I think but anyway, so a bunch of legislators were there for that anyway. So, but we got probably there at about 10 o'clock or so. There was a bunch of speeches. Now, the left, and it was very interesting how they did this. Basically, half of the steps of the Supreme Court was people in favor of our bill and Jack's bill and Lambert's bill. And then there's a whole swath of purple hair,
nose ring,
they, them, pronoun people. And it was interesting, the acoustics, because you could literally stand in one spot with basically like 1 feet one way, 1 feet the other way, and you could hear both of it. And then if you walked over, you couldn't hear the other side at all. And so that was interesting. Ellen Page did speak. They had a couple of Kami Pinko celebrities there. So, of course, famous famously known for her sex change. Let's just put it this way: if you were there on the communist leftist pro transsexual alphabet mafia movement, it was not a good place for a single guy to try to pick up a date. I mean, unless you wear eyeliner, but it was very, very bizarre. And actually, even on our side, there was some interesting signs as well, because there was a sign there, and I certainly don't agree. It was interesting. There was a sign. I'll just tell you what the sign said: that "Stop transing gay kids." So you basically had people that are.
By the way, let me just stop. That is actually a very, very powerful argument.
Yeah.
That guys like Andrew Sullivan, who's a gay guy, who's kind of a liberal columnist, been around for a long time, but he's also got some elements of populism in him. But he's made that argument very strongly. He said, I was gay, that they wanted to, they wanted to trans me, and that would have been terrible.
Yep.
So, interesting.
Well, and I will want to make clear here, I don't believe there's anything such thing as a gay kid. There may be effeminate kids, or maybe, but obviously the point is well taken that they're saying you don't do that to children. Mm-hmm. So, because I certainly don't believe that a kid who happens to be a boy that wants to play with dolls is necessarily somebody who's going to grow up to be gay. Mm-hmm. They may just need better parenting. Give them put down the dolls, take up the G.I. Joes. Do kids play with those anymore?
I don't know.
I mean, I was a G.I. Joe, Legos, and then books.
Yeah.
I wasn't as charming as I am today, so I spent a lot of time in my teenage years in the library sitting down.
You've really got the charm offensive going. So, Aaron, let's talk a little bit then about the reaction. Here's my sense of this. The arguments made and the questioning by the three leftist Supreme Court justices were so insane. Mm-hmm. Aspirin has side effects too. Oh, isn't this like, prohibition of interracial marriage in Virginia back in the 1960s? Nobody with any common sense saw those arguments as persuasive. And so I think Attorney General Skrmetti he made the rounds on all of the national news. In fact, he's going to be here in studio tomorrow from 11 to noon in studio for a longer form interview with us. But I thought nobody in regime media was able to touch him at all. He handled all of it very well. He was on with the Jake Tapper, gave him basically a lesson in law. The state of Tennessee and the representatives of the state of Tennessee and the Attorney General did, as well as our Solicitor General, Matthew Rice, did a fantastic job of explaining the law. And I think the country as a whole was A, impressed with the law, B, impressed with how we do things in Tennessee.
This is very true, Art. And not only, Skrmetti just put it on a master class. And I actually had this idea as you were talking about it, because you brought me back to those silly questions and arguments that the three lefty justices were giving. I would love, for the next time a case like this happens, for somebody to rent out a theater and play the audio so you can hear like the group of people laughing, because at least the people I was standing with when we heard the Loving versus Virginia case, which is the interracial marriage case, trying to be somehow applied here, the non-lawyers were laughing. It was pretty.
And the lawyers, let me just say this: the lawyers were laughing inside.
Yes,
they weren't laughing.
You just
public,
can't,
because they're lawyers and there's court sanctions and things like that to be concerned about. All right. Well, look, Aaron Gulbransen's excellent adventure in Washington D.C. last week went very well for Aaron and the state of Tennessee. When we come back, we'll have more politics. Kari Lake's got a new gig. Back after this. say a few words about our friends at the Nashville Pizza Company, 2176 Hillsborough Road. The Nashville Pizza Company in Franklin reminds us that the current economic times have been tough on many families in our area, and many are finding it hard to make ends meet. Your donations of clothing or canned goods can make a difference for a family in need. During this holiday season, give from the heart so others can have a new start. That's courtesy of our friends at Nashville Pizza Company, 2176 Hillsborough Road in Franklin. They are always working to keep our community moving in a positive direction.
My fellow Americans, my good friends, I've known them for a long time, at D.T. McCall & Sons have the deal of a lifetime for you, and nobody knows deals like I do. That much I can tell you. Nobody knows deals like I do. The lumber yards, they can hit you with hidden charges for up to $200 extra. They'll charge you for cords and hoses and haul-offs. Your money goes all over the place and out of the state, and most importantly, out of your pockets. How do they get away with that? I don't know how they do that, but on day one, if you buy from McCall's, we are going to stop the hidden charges as soon as you buy it. D.T. McCall & Sons has locations in Lebanon, Carthage, Lafayette, Cookeville, and Franklin, and they have been family-owned in Middle Tennessee for over 100 years. Head to one of their stores today or check them out at dtmccalls.com. You're going to love it. Believe me.
Impersonator not endorsed
This
by
summer,
Donald
never
Trump.
leave pets in vehicles while running errands. Even with windows cracked, 80 degrees can shoot up to 120 degrees, causing heat stroke, dehydration, and even death. So keep pets hydrated, shaded in cool areas, or just leave them at home. That's from Kathy, Candy, and the staff at Mutts Cuts Grooming, the people with warm hearts for those with cold noses. For your pet's grooming needs, call 931-645-9220. That's 931-645-9220 for Mutts Cuts Grooming in Clarksville, Tennessee at 1479 Tiny Town Road.
Hey there, this is Lenny McGill, founder and CEO of the Glock Store. As a proud sponsor of this show, you may have heard Michael Patrick Leahy mention us a few times over the past 4 years. But today, it's me on the radio telling you how pleased we are to be associated with Michael Patrick Leahy and his dedication to the highest levels of professional journalism. Michael Patrick Leahy has been threatened with jail time in bringing the true facts about that Nashville Covenant shooting to his listening audience. Michael Patrick Leahy, you keep doing what you're doing, and we here at the Glock Store will keep sponsoring your show for the good of Nashville and the entire country. And I'm personally inviting all of your listeners to come visit and shoot at the Glock Store. It's where Michael Patrick Leahy learned to shoot a gun for the first time and where he bought his own personal Glock 19. I'm Lenny McGill, founder and CEO of the Glock Store here in Nashville, just minutes from the airports, worth the drive from anywhere, and a proud sponsor of Michael Patrick Leahy and the Tennessee Star Report.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
Welcome back. Aaron Gulberson in studio. Aaron, what happens to someone who is Donald Trump Jr.'s fiance and they break up? I'm talking about Kimberly Guilfoyle.
Consolation prize, severance package. He gets sent off to an island somewhere.
Or the president named her the ambassador to Greece.
Well,
so I just do have one little comment here. I thought, well, she must have Greek heritage. She does not. Her mother was Puerto Rican and her father was Irish. So Guilfoyle's Irish.
I've heard that she's been to Greece many, many times.
Okay. Anyway, so she is ambassador to Greece. Other big news, Kari Lake, who ran for governor of Arizona, barely lost in 2022, ran for U.S. Senate from Arizona in 2024, lost by a little bit, 2%. So just last night, now she had been floated out there as a possible ambassador to Mexico. Didn't get that gig.
It's because she didn't date Don Jr.
No comment. She's happily married. She's come here I've met her many times. We've gone out to, because we have the Arizona Sun
Actually,
Times.
I didn't even know she was married, to be perfectly honest. I had no idea.
So actually, she's got a great family. Her husband, as it turns out, is a photographer who does all of her videos.
Okay.
And you see they are shot in a certain way. that are very, very favorable to her. But I met her many times. We've got the Arizona Sun-Times.
Right.
And so we went out and did an exclusive interview with her when she was running for governor. And then our Rachel Alexander at the Arizona Sun-Times has been, we interviews her all the time. And she was here in Nashville for a fundraiser a while back.
Yeah,
a couple of months ago, and I should talk with her then. It was great to talk to her. I think, though, her political career has kind of hit a turning point, shall we say? Because if you lose one statewide election, barely, and it was litigated and it went a long time, and maybe she did, maybe she didn't. But this time, her loss was 2%. And it was really beyond the margin of.
And how many points did Donald Trump win?
Trump won by like 6 or 7 points.
So she ran about 8 or
9
points
behind.
Yeah.
So, and there was discussion about elements of her campaign that perhaps could have been a little bit better. But it's still pretty good to get that level of support. But if you lose 2 consecutive statewide races, that's what you call a clue.
Yeah.
Right?
The voters in your state don't want you there. You could pull a Scott Brown and move to a neighboring state. But
that doesn't go well either.
No.
So I would say, and she's still relatively young. She's in her early 50s, I think. And so you think about it. So, well, obviously she was a big supporter of Donald Trump. And, she's from Iowa. And she went up to the Iowa caucuses to campaign for him. And I think at a time when that really mattered. So she's been very loyal, very supportive of the president.
Knox County's Mayor Glenn Jacobs was also there in Iowa during the caucuses campaigning for Trump.
There's a guy who, I don't know if he's thought about this, but Glenn Jacobs, the mayor of Knox County, he could possibly be a statewide candidate for office. I know you know him pretty well, but I'm just going to suggest that he consider it.
Okay. I will pass that along.
Okay, so back to Kari Lake. So then and this whole thing is, during the transition, I mean, it's a lot. And Trump has done a fantastic job of naming his cabinet. And it moved very quickly, in a way very different from the first time around. Because he wasn't prepared, if you will.
Well, I think that he and probably 10 other people in his orbit, at a minimum, spent the last 4 years spending a good deal of time not just thinking about how they'd get the office back, but how they'd do better this time, how they'd keep what worked last time, and kind of discard. If you look at the choices that they're making, pretty much discarding what didn't work last time. You're not seeing a Reince Priebus coming in as chief of staff. You're seeing a Susie Wiles, who,
by the way,
and
first rate.
An actual political operator.
Yeah.
I mean, not to say that Priebus but he's not an operative. He's not an organizational guy.
He's
just a talking head.
Susie Wiles is not somebody you want to get on the wrong side.
No, that's very, very true. It's extremely true. But I mean, you look at Kash Patel, FBI director. See and people forget about this and. See, this is what I think happened with Comey. Trump should have fired him on day one in 2017.
Right. January 20th.
Yes.
Yeah.
On day one.
Yeah.
Trump back then did come in without the experience of actually having been president. And I did think that he thought he could win Comey over and that they could have a good working relationship.
So let me just stop for a moment and say, this is an understanding of who Donald Trump is as a person. He is a deal guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's also a guy who genuinely likes people and is genuinely interested in listening to what a person wants.
Right.
There is nobody better at reading a room than Donald J. Trump. He's the ultimate American salesman.
Yep.
He is fantastic at that.
So
he thought, I know where you're going. He thought, well, I can use those skills with guys like James Comey.
Right.
Except
there's nothing you could use with James Comey because he had his agenda and he wasn't going to vary from it, which is just basically the simplest way to put it is the deep state agenda. But they've learned from that. So, and Chris Wray clearly learned from that too, because he's announced his resignation before Trump gets to fire him. So
right now, it looks like Kash Patel,
yeah,
who I think is very well qualified, who's been making the rounds. I think he's going to get confirmed easily. And look, we're delighted because Kash Patel has publicly said the director of the FBI should release the Covenant Killer Manifesto and a lot of other things.
Yeah.
So we anticipate here, because we're in litigation now with the federal government, with the state of Tennessee, with Metro Nashville government, to get the 1,000 pages of the Covenant Killer Manifesto released. It will be released to us. We're the only ones that have filed the Freedom of Information Act request with the federal government. We've released 90 pages of the last 3 months, but it's like 1,000 pages of Audrey Elizabeth Hale's writings for the last 10 years of life. They've got it. We want it. We're going to get it. We're probably going to get it before the end of January.
What do you think is going to be more coherent, all 1,000 pages of that or the Michelle Obama autobiography?
Going to be close. Now let's go back to the nominees and the whole process. They start off with the beginning. You got to get the big ones, and Marco Rubio, Secretary of State. I thought it'd be Rick Grinnell. Rubio's going to be fine.
Let me say this.
He'll get confirmed.
Very clear. I am thrilled it was Marco Rubio. The American people in the world should be very, very happy that it's Marco Rubio.
Well, he's a very smart guy.
The only other person who would be doing that good of a job is our great Senator Bill Hagerty.
I agree with you on
but
that.
I'm very, very glad it was not that name you just mentioned, because that would have been a disaster.
Okay, good point. We can talk about that more at some other time. But back to the other nominations have been great. Besson at Treasury, at Interior, Doug Burgum. The Attorney General had a hiccup. Matt Gaetz came. Matt Gaetz left.
And he got his consolation prize. He gets to go host a show on OAN News, which I'm not even sure is on the air anymore.
Boom shakalaka. But
Pam Bondi is seriously though.
She'll be a great attorney.
For anybody who was upset that Gaetz had to withdraw, I'm pretty sure Trump knew that was what was going to happen, and there was a strategy there. I think that entirely worked out the way the president wanted it to. But Pam Bondi is a rock star.
She'll be great.
She also she served on the first impeachment defense of President Trump, which I contributed to.
Very good. So also Pete Hegseth is going to make it as Secretary of Defense.
Yeah, I think.
He's had a terrific counteroffensive and done very, very well on that. I think the nail in the coffin on those trying to stop him is this phony gotcha thing that blew up in their face, where the pro-public leftists went to West Point and said, "Hey, he says he was accepted. Go check and see if he was." And they said, "No, he wasn't." Well, guess what? He kept the actual notice of acceptance and he published it, and he said, retract. Everything's changed. And look, I think actually going through this political media firestorm has been good for Hegseth, because he's got a level of confidence. You can see it.
Yeah.
It's going to work well.
Well, and I do think because I do think these are linked. I think one of the reasons why Gaetz was sort of named and then withdrew was because they wanted the fire there, and then they'd go, okay, fine, you're not going to confirm Gaetz, whatever, but you're confirming everybody else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's exactly
what the strategy.
So now
was.
They went through the top level and they went through the next level, and back to Carrie Lake. So Carrie, her name was floated out to be ambassador to Mexico. Now, I think that would have been a good win for her to be ambassador to Mexico. The problem was, if you look at sort of, what qualifies her to be ambassador to Mexico, right? She's been a newscaster. She knows the issues, and they ended up with picking somebody else. But like the day after, they named her to be the director of Voice of America. That's actually a pretty important gig.
Yep. It's spreading the American message around the globe in, I think it was like 66 or 67 different languages.
And there's like 900 people that work there. And now here's the thing. Voice of America, if you can go on, they have a news site, digital news site, Voice of America News. I have to tell you, it's often center left at best.
Yeah, they need to change it.
So you got to change it. And I think she'll be a great change agent for that.
Congratulations, Carrie Lake, because you're also the first person to hold that position that anybody's ever heard of. And that's both a funny joke, the truth, but also it illustrates a point. You're right. Center left at best on that website and all the stuff that we're putting out as the United States around the world, because it's deep state people running the damn
Got to get
thing,
rid of
so
them.
you got to clean it.
Yeah. Now, the other thing about Voice of America is there does need to be from a center left perspective, it needs to go to an America First perspective.
Yes.
And the theme here, there's one place in the world that guarantees liberty and freedom of capitalism. It's the United States of America. This is the place where you should come if you have money and ambition, and this is the place that you should aspire to have your country look like.
Right, and I would also advocate, if Carrie Lake is actually listening, rebrand it. Well, because seriously, if you're spreading basically the American dream around the world, calling it Voice of America, somebody's gonna be, if I turn
How would you got 30 seconds.
If I turn on the TV and I see something called Russia on it, I'm going to go, oh, that's only Russia's point of view. It's not going to influence me one bit.
How would you rebrand it?
I would call it Voice of Freedom or something like that.
Voice of Freedom.
Yeah.
Liberty. I like it. When we come back, I got a Babylon Bee headline you're going to love. It'll be time for News Potpourri. I almost want to say this headline right now, but I won't. Back after this.
CEO of Soul Tea, a supplement to help you have a healthier heart and stronger cardiovascular system. At Soul Tea, we regularly get emails from our customers telling us how Soul Tea has helped them. Like this one from Kelly. Hello, I'm 58 years old and have had high cholesterol for years. I wanted to stay away from prescription drugs. My husband and I have been using Soul Tea for about 13 months. My results have been amazing. My cholesterol levels went from 291 to 129. I am so impressed with Soul Tea and want to thank you. Now, in my own case, my bad cholesterol dropped from 130 to 89, and that was 20 years ago. I'm 75 years old and I take 0 prescription drugs. To get a great deal on Soul Tea, please go to GodzillaHeart.com, and when you check out, use the code Godzilla to get our best deal, which is 50% off your first shipment and then 3 bottles for the price of 2 thereafter. You don't have to live with a broken heart.
Do you suffer from
Try
declining
Soul Tea
bone and
today.
joint health? Hi, it's Tina with the John Fredericks Media Network. And when I heard about our company's Women's Challenge, I jumped on the opportunity to test this amazing supplement that's already restoring my bone density, soothing my joint pain, and helping me regain lost mobility. I've experienced so many benefits in such a short time with Native Path Collagen Peptides because they support my bones and joints, boost my metabolism, and unleash the most radiant skin and hair since my 20s. In just 2 weeks, my knee stiffness is gone, and I'm already hitting the gym more aggressively. And I get so many compliments on my glowy skin and shiny hair. Native Path Collagen Peptides are so easy to take. They're tasteless, odorless, and mix great with my morning coffee. Read thousands of 5-star reviews at getnativepath.com/Godzilla. Level up your self-care with Native Path Collagen Peptides. Try it risk-free for as low as $21 today. And get free shipping at getnativepath.com/Godzilla.
In 2008, the amount of concentrated time people could spend on a task without becoming distracted was 12 seconds. 5 years later, it was only 8 seconds, 1 second less than a goldfish. If you're often distracted or have trouble recalling information, you're likely to fall behind in the demanding, fast-paced 21st century. In other words, brain performance is more critical now than ever. Boost your brain power with Healthy Cells Focus Plus Recall. Science-backed nootropics to help you sharpen focus, concentrate longer, enhance recall, improve mental speed, learn rapidly, and be more alert. It's a pill-free brain supplement made with maximum absorption ingestible gel technology, designed to feed your brain at the cellular level. Take it for a test drive. Go to healthycell.com and use code GODZILLA for 20% off your first order of Focus Plus Recall. That's HealthyCell.com. Code GODZILLA for 20% off.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. In studio, Aaron Gulpinson. Aaron, it's that time of day again. It's time for News Potpourri. Yes, this is the portion of the program where we talk about those stories that are of note, don't necessarily merit a full segment, and have a touch of
irony.
Well, this is beyond irony. It's from the Babylon Bee. You know, we were talking about Bill Belichick's new job as a head coach of the University of North Carolina. Here's how the Babylon Bee, here's their headline. Bill Belichick agrees to University of North Carolina job on condition he can live in girlfriend's dorm.
They never, ever miss.
They don't miss.
Oh, my gosh.
How can you be that funny all the time? You know what I want to do? I want to go to one of their morning meetings, you know, and say, okay, what ideas do we have today, guys?
Oh, listen, if you get to have a job in life where your sole job is to sit around and think about funny things, that's a fun job. Well, there's really no way. This is kind of similar in personality, though, to Bill Belichick.
Okay, now this
is actually the better segue.
How are we going to segue from Bill Belichick to
Tom Homan?
Yeah.
So last evening, Gloria Giorno and Steven Tyler Giorno's Reagan Society, which is a new group that's been founded, hosted the new, about to be inducted as border czar, Tom Homan. And I have to say, I got to spend a lot of time with him last night, and I actually got to help spearhead a bit of the conversation during a private dinner we were having with him. And he is like, take no prisoners. He doesn't care. He's got a job to do. He won't let anybody get in his way. He literally doesn't care if the world hates him for the job that he's doing. It is pretty impressive. As an aside, I did get the opportunity to ask him what more can the states do, since there are some people out there that like to grift about our Tennessee legislature. And he said that the two things that states can do to fight illegal immigration are to, one, ban sanctuary cities, which we've already done here in the great state of Tennessee, and two, make sure that we check the immigration status of people in our jails, and so we can notify ICE, which has also been done in our great state of Tennessee. Those were the two biggest things that the incoming border czar for Donald Trump said last night.
So checking on immigration status, though, there's got to be something that happens after that, right?
Yeah. And
it's got to be reported to us.
Right.
Is that happening here in Tennessee?
That there was a law passed last year that was by Farrell Hale that made sure that happened, and that it's supposed to be, the data goes from the jails to the District Attorney General's conference, which is then transmitted over to ICE.
Is that happening?
That's a good question.
We're going to report on that.
Yeah, we should.
Because
we should go dig in.
My guess is the District Attorney General's conference.
Yes,
that it doesn't go to the local DAs.
Yeah, I mean, the local DAs would have access to something which would go to the collective body, but yeah, no, they're.
So the the District Attorney General's office then would have to transmit that to ICE. We're going to see if that's happening.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting. Here's a troubling report. You know, this Ryan Ralph guy who laid in wait at the golf course where he was trying to assassinate President Trump. The Secret Service agent got within 5 feet of him, shot 6 times, didn't touch him. That's weird.
Well, I've actually talked to police officers about that kind of thing. He's been in. There was an officer I was speaking to one day who'd been in 2 different shootouts. One where he was 3 feet away from the guy, 1 shot, dead. Mind you, both times the guys were shooting at him too. And then there was another time he emptied his clip twice and nobody hit anybody. So it can happen. But I got one fun one for you.
We like fun ones.
And I would actually just, I mean, I think it's hilarious how the right, and he deserves to be mocked for this part, the hoodie wearing John Fetterman in the halls of the U.S. Senate. But he has displayed more common sense than any Democrat in the entire Capitol.
Isn't this weird?
Yeah.
So John Fetterman, who we just, skewered with ridicule because he was, after his stroke, he was just not there.
Right.
But he's come back, and he's actually, of all the Democrats in the Senate, he makes the most sense.
So he met with Elise Stefanik yesterday, who of course is the President Trump's nominee to be the ambassador to the UN. And his tweet is, always was a hard, and in caps, yes, for Elise Stefanik, but it was a pleasure to have a conversation. I support defunding the UN RWA, which is the rights, it's like their Human Rights Council, right? Yeah. For its documented Hamas infiltration, and fully look forward to her holding the UN accountable for its endemic anti-Semitism and blatant anti-Israel views.
Well, the thing about the United Nations is the following. What we have to understand is, in the world as it exists today, as the dawn of 2025 is upon us, really it's only the United States, the only country in the world where liberty and freedom thrives. And it needs to be, that needs to be the messaging. Not all these, dictatorships out there, not all these socialist, utopias that have gone into dystopia. And that needs to be a change. And I think Elise Stefanik is well suited to lead that.
I would love that to be one of the offices that, she skewers them, and then eventually we withdraw from the UN, or at least, drop what...
Well, to this whole business of withdrawing from the UN, if it doesn't change its tune, that might be inevitable. But I think the Trumpian way is to have them come around to our perspective, which is basically, it's America first and everybody else follows or emulates. That's it.
Yeah. By the way, did you see in the immediate aftermath of the Daniel Penny acquittal, thank God, the leaders of Black Lives Matter in New York City doing a press conference calling for violence? Did you happen to notice what hat most of them were wearing?
No, tell me.
They were wearing New York Yankees hats.
Ah.
So as I say, let's go Mets.
Okay, lastly, Tom Homan, who was here last night, the new boarder czar, very busy guy. He's got another meeting today, and not quite as important as his meeting with Aaron Gulbertson. He's meeting with the mayor of New York, Eric Adams, who basically is going to say, yeah, we're on board, buddy. And so New York may be where they start, getting rid of all these illegals.
Adams
criminals.
doesn't want to be indicted again.
Yeah, there you go. All right, Aaron Gulbertson, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
And up next, Rob Carson will be back tomorrow. And hey, a reminder, Attorney General Jonathan Skrmetti will join us in the 11 o'clock hour for a full hour here on the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Thanks for joining us. This is Michael Patrick Leahy. I want to say a word about my good friend Dustin Damon. Dustin is the best handyman in Middle Tennessee. Call Dustin today at 724-683-4400. That's 724-683-4400 if you have a job around the house that you just haven't gotten around to. If you're busy like me, you just may not have the time to fix that broken mailbox, repair the back porch, or get that old light fixture back to working properly. Do what I did. Call Dustin Damon today at 724-683-4400, and he will bring his truck and tools to your house and get that job done lickety-split. Dustin's main service area is Williamson County and the southern part of Davidson County. So call Dustin Damon, the best handyman in Middle Tennessee today, at 724-683-4400. Tell him you heard about him on the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. The Chief Team reminds listeners here that more and more veterans will be returning home over the next few years, and many are local. These heroes have elite military training and valuable professional skills, but they also need jobs too. That's why the Chief Team is encouraging all local businesses. Let's make it the year we hire smart and hire veterans. That's from the Chief Team, where they say service isn't just a courtesy, it's a commitment. For more information, call 931-444-3572. That's 931-444-3572 for the Chief Team in Clarksville.
The Black preaching tradition is deeply connected to gospel music.
PBS presents a new series hosted by Henry Louis Gates Jr., Gospel.
Our singers preach and our preachers sing.
Gospel is a prayer. It is our heart's cry to God in lyrics and song.
You feel it deep down in your soul.
Gospel. Streaming now on the PBS app.